which has a max value of 6 trillion. And this is not even remotely the biggest bone blossom you can get. This literally took me like 10 minutes to do. By the end of this video, whether you're a beginner or pro, you will know the best method for you to grow absolutely massive bone blossoms, easily making you trillions of shekels. Now, before I get into the video, only 5% of you guys that watch my videos are subscribed. So if you really want to support the channel and keep updated on the best methods, tips, and tricks for Grow a Garden, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And I'll also be giving away 3 premium primal eggs to 3 lucky subscribers. And if you want a chance to win, all of the giveaway information will be in the description. But the most important thing is to make sure you send a friend request to my Grow a Garden alt account or add it to your private server. For those who don't know, the bone blossom got an absolute massive buff in the newest update. Not only did its base value go from 175,000 to 200,000, its base weight also went down to the same weight as a candy blossom. So it is now without a doubt better than the candy blossom and pretty much the best seed in the game. So finding the best strategy for you to grow massive bone blossoms to make yourself trillions is going to be super important. So today I'm going to go over the 3 best methods to do so, and you can decide which one you want to use depending on your resources, the amount of time you have to spend, etc. Okay, quickly, there are a few things you can do to increase the efficiency of all of these methods. So for each of these methods, using multiple bone blossoms is going to be important. I'll talk about the exact number of trees you'll want to use in each method, but now it's a lot easier to get bone blossoms because we have these repeatable bonus quests, which do give you 1 checkmark per quest and are repeatable with 0 cooldown. So you can keep doing these quests over and over again to get a lot of bone blossoms before this event is over, which is going to be really important for efficiency. And then we also obviously have pet mutations. These are not going to be super important. I'm not going to be using them, but for some of the pets that we use, if they are level 50 or above, definitely go ahead and mutate them. If you get gold or a rainbow, those are going to be pretty useful, especially if you don't have enough to completely fill your inventory. Having a gold or rainbow one is going to be pretty good. And then there's also the new toys, the medium and small toys. You can use these to boost your pet passive, which can be good for the mooncats because it increases the range of their passive, and good for the triceratopses because it increases the odds of them hitting a plant twice. And then besides that, all these methods are going to be using sprinklers, especially the master sprinkler is going to be pretty important to increase your odds of getting a massive bone blossom. It's not mandatory, but it's going to save a ton of time. So definitely before you start any of those methods, make sure you have at least 2 or 3 master sprinklers. They're not hard to get. You can AFK macro them, join a Discord server, and have notifications on for master sprinklers so you can log in every time a master sprinkler is in stock, or just join Grow Garden an hour before any update. And Jendel typically puts a few master sprinklers in stock. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of RNG and luck involved, but each of these strategies are just going to progressively increase your odds of getting a massive bone blossom within a shorter amount of time, but using slightly more resources. Okay, so the first method is going to be the best for beginners because it doesn't use nearly as many resources or any pets at all. Now, this is just going to be simply the OG sprinkler method. If you don't know how this works, basically get your bone blossoms in a close area like this. For this one, the more bone blossom seeds, the better. Literally use as many bone blossom seeds as you can possibly get. And then once you're ready, go ahead and collect all of the bone blossoms on the trees and place down 1 godly, 1 master, 1 advanced, and 1 basic sprinkler. Keep in mind, sprinklers do not stack, so you only need 1 of each. And then just go ahead and leave the game. Now you want to wait at least around 30 minutes before joining back. All right, within half an hour, we'll go ahead and join back. And there we go. We have some pretty decently sized bone blossoms, but obviously nothing too massive. And then you can literally just keep doing this over and over again. Go ahead and collect all the bone blossoms you don't want to keep, and then leave the game again for around 30 minutes, and then join back. And once your sprinklers run out, make sure to place them down again. But the master sprinklers and everything else do last a while. Now, the drawbacks of this method is that it does take a lot longer, but obviously you're not playing during that time. However, like I said, you can use as many bone blossoms as possible, and every single bone blossom tree that you add will increase the odds of you getting a massive one. So if you go ahead and grind out like 10 or 20 bone blossoms, because of how repeatable the quests are now, this method can be pretty good, especially for using absolutely no pets. Now, the next method I think is going to be the best for most players. The only thing you really need besides sprinklers is a few triceratopses. The more triceratopses, the better. But also, you can only equip as much as your pet slots allow. So personally, I use 6 triceratopses. So basically, each triceratops is going to simulate the first method where you were leaving the game for 30 minutes and joining back to instantly grow the plants. But this only happens every 3 minutes for each triceratops. So you're going to be able to grow a ton more bone blossoms in a shorter span of time, giving you a much better chance of getting a massive one. And honestly, I'd argue that this conserves more master sprinklers than the first method. So now that you have your triceratopses, you want to make sure you have little to no other plants on your base because the triceratopses can possibly target those instead of your bone blossoms. So I literally have nothing else on my base except for these 2 bone blossoms, and you should only really use a maximum of 3 bone blossoms because each triceratops will only hit 3 plants every time they do their ability. Now, unfortunately, there is a glitch going on right now. If you place dino shrooms on your base, there's a good chance that you now have invisible dino shrooms on your garden that these triceratopses will try to hit. And some people have had luck trying to shovel theirs. Personally, I cannot remove mine, so it does make this method and the next method a little less efficient. Really hope Jendel fixes this soon. All right, once you have everything ready, you want to place down all of your Triceratopses about 20 seconds apart so their abilities activate in 20-second intervals so you can actually collect the blossoms before the next one activates. So just keep an eye on the passive timer, and then once it gets to like 3 minutes and 15 seconds, I normally place the next one. And then now we're just going to wait for the first Triceratops's ability to almost be ready. Okay, the first one's ability is almost ready, so we'll go ahead and place down our sprinklers. And then at about 10 seconds, we're going to go ahead and claim all the bone blossoms on the trees here. And then basically now, every time a Triceratops hits the tree, take a look at the bone blossoms, pick up any ones that you don't want to keep, and then you literally just keep waiting, hopefully for a big one to spawn. So nothing too big there. Oh, and wow, just like that, we already got a absolute massive one. That is kind of crazy. I'm gonna go ahead and favorite it, and hopefully we can get another big one. And another huge one, which I accidentally just collected. But just be careful when you're actually collecting the blossoms. I would recommend if you see a big one, immediately favorite it and then start collecting. But this bone blossom is 800 million shekels just with gold, which is like 42.4 kg. And with all mutations, it would be worth 2.6 trillion. Now, it's unfortunate that I deleted the slightly bigger one, but that is literally all from like less than half of the duration of one master sprinkler, like 3 minutes right there and already 2 massive bone blossoms. And obviously you can just go as long as you want. All right, moving on to the last method. Now this one's going to be the best for endgame players because we're going to be using less Triceratopses and instead we're going to be using some Mooncats or Tabby Cats. It's up to you. Mooncats are going to be the best because they have a slightly larger radius as well as they sleep for a little longer, but Tabby Cats provide just as much of a boost, so you can use either of those two. However, because we're using less Triceratopses, we're going to be growing a lot less bone blossoms, meaning it's going to be a lot more luck based. You're going to have to spend a bit more time as well as more master sprinklers to get a really big one. But if you do get a really big one, it's going to be quite bigger than the one from the second method because of the added boost from the Moon or Tabby Cat. So it's up to you whether you want to do the second method or the third method, but I recommend you have 2 or 3 master sprinklers for the second method, and then probably around like 5 or 10 master sprinklers if you're going to try this method. All right, so now that you have your Mooncats and Triceratops, I'd recommend only using one Triceratops, but you can use multiple. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Once again, for this method, you are going to want to clear your plot of any other plants and only use a maximum of 3 bone blossom plants because the Triceratops cannot hit any more than that. But basically, place down your Triceratops and wait for the timer to reach about 1 minute and 10 seconds because that's how long it takes for a Mooncat to sleep. And if you're using a Tabby, wait for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, maybe 35 seconds. And in the meantime, make sure you have all of your sprinklers in your hotbar just so that they're easily accessible. And then I'd also recommend having your trowel inside your hotbar as well. All right, and now that the timer is almost at 1 minute and 10 seconds, we're going to go ahead and place down all of our Mooncats. Okay, and once the Mooncats abilities are around 10 seconds, go ahead and claim all of these bone blossoms on the trees and bring your trowel out and get ready to trowel the bone blossoms over to wherever the best spot is. You want to have the most overlapping sleeping circles as possible. It looks like this is going to be the best, so we'll go ahead and place both of these here and then quickly place your sprinklers down as well. And then you're really just hoping for one big bone blossom every single time. And basically you're just timing the Triceratops' passive with the Mooncat so that it grows everything while the plants are inside the Mooncat circles and hoping for a huge one. And then you're just repeating the process over and over again. Now that I have my master sprinkler down, I'm going to only keep my bone blossoms in the range of the master sprinkler. It is a pretty big range, and I definitely think it's worth it for the bone blossoms being in the range of the master sprinkler, even if it means you're not getting the maximum use of your Mooncat. You should hopefully have at least one Mooncat that sleeps in its range. Now, like I said, you can use multiple Triceratopses if you want. I'd say probably 2 is the max just to make things not too tight. But go ahead and place down your first one and then wait for the cooldown of the Triceratops to reach about 2 minutes, maybe 1 minute and 50 seconds. Then place down your second one, and it's literally the same process, but for each individual Triceratops. So once the first Triceratops timer is at 1 minute and 10 seconds or so, place down your Mooncats, do the same thing. Once you're done with the first Triceratops, pick up all of your Mooncats and wait for the second Triceratops timer to also reach 1 minute and 10 seconds or so. So yeah, personally, I prefer using 2 Triceratopses, although the one less Mooncat means the odds of having one of them sleeping in the range of your master sprinkler is a little lower. I do think it does provide a bit of a boost overall, but it's really up to you depending on what pets you have and depending on how much time you're willing to spend. This is definitely the most time intensive method as well as resource intensive method. However, if you do get a big bone blossom, it'll likely be much larger than any of the bone blossoms from any of the other methods just because of the extra 1.55 times per sleeping moon or tabby cat. The keyword for today's giveaway is bone with a capital B. Make sure to follow all the giveaway instructions in the description. So those are the 3 best methods to grow absolutely massive bone blossoms worth trillions. Obviously, you can alter them slightly depending on what you have, but overall, I think the second method is probably the best for most players because the triceratopses are easy to get and you're not using nearly as many master sprinklers as the last method would probably require you to use. Now, because this video is for all kinds of players, you might not know what to do once you get a big bone blossom. If you want to know the actual value of the bone blossom, as well as its potential, go ahead and go to this Grow Garden calculator. First, start off by selecting the bone blossom, and then if it's golden or rainbow, select that mutation, and then go to the bottom and click the toggle value to weight mode and input the value that the bone blossom is. Keep in mind, make sure you have the golden or rainbow mutation on if it's golden or rainbow, and it'll give you an estimated kg. Then you can just put the kg into the weight up here and select what other mutations you would want to put on it, or select all if you want to see the max potential of the bone blossom. Now, some of these mutations are really hard to get. Go ahead and go to the Grow Garden Wiki if you want to know how to get exactly each one. Things like shocked and stuff provide a really good boost and are honestly not that hard to get, but other ones can be a little tough and you have to use certain pets. Specifically, to get rainbow on a bone blossom, if it's not already a rainbow, you have to use the butterfly pet. That is literally the only pet that will make it rainbow. It is a little hard to get, but if you have that, you can do that. And if you want to turn it gold, you have to use the dragonfly pet. Every other mutation is somewhat easy to get except for the dev event ones, but you'll get those in a matter of time. If you really want to stack up the super rare mutations, I'd recommend planting hundreds of carrots before every update so that in the dev of use you get some of these rare mutations on those carrots. And then you can also use the T-Rex, which transfers mutations from one fruit to another, to transfer all of those rare mutations to whatever big bone blossom you're trying to mutate. And that's going to be the best way to find a bone blossom's potential and get max mutations on it. With that being said, I do need a big bone blossom for myself, so I'm going to go ahead and try to use the last method here and get a really, really large bone blossom that I can then mutate and have it worth trillions. All right. Wow. Literally after like 10 minutes of using the third method, I already got one worth 90 million. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a butterfly and mutate this and all that stuff, but let's go ahead and see what the max potential of this is. So for a bone blossom with a value of 900 million, we have an estimated kg of around 63, which if we put it into this calculator here and then do the max mutations, which has a max value of 6 trillion. And this is not even remotely the biggest bone blossom you can get. This literally took me like 10 minutes to do. And obviously the longer time you spend doing it, the bigger bone blossoms you'll be able to get. So with the only 100x mutation being shocked on here, it's still worth 2.7 trillion, but even things like Disco, Celestial, Void Touch, Galactic are not even going to be too hard because I have a ton of carrots over here with these rare mutations that are ready to be transferred over to the bone blossom using the T-Rex. Yeah, just keep in mind, all of it is RNG, but these 3 methods are going to give you the best chance at getting massive bone blossoms. And honestly, I'm probably even going to go for a much bigger one eventually, but even getting this to 5 or 6 trillion is good enough for me. With that all being said, if you enjoyed this video, found it useful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you all again so much for getting me to 50,000 subscribers. The support lately has been absolutely wild. I should have a macro video for this event coming up very, very soon. Still just trying to perfect it and create the perfect macro loop. But with that all being said, I hope you all have an amazing day and good luck gardening. Time to go ahead and find our 3 lucky winners for the 3 premium seed packs from the T-Rex video. Keep in mind the winners of the giveaway from my last video will be rolled in my next video, and then the giveaway winners from this video will be rolled in the following video. Congratulations, our first winner, Drip. You have won 3 premium seed packs. Congratulations to our second winner here, Lennis, and he said he wanted eggs instead, so we'll go ahead and gift him some eggs. All right, and congratulations to our last winner, Dat, for winning 3 premium seed packs. And from now on, keep in mind we're doing primal egg giveaways.